You're live from Chuco Town, September 2. Okay. So this is being recorded, so it will be available to you to prepare for the exam. I think we'll have a little discussion, a little lecture on neurons. Because I'll definitely put neuron information on the questions on the test. You should have a neuron diagram on Blackboard. I'll check it to make sure that they've made the transition since so much crazy stuff has happened on Blackboard this semester. So, neurons are the cells that build up neural pathways which send messages to your brain. And so it's an important concept. The very end of the neuron is also a portion that we'll explain in more detail because it's really important. Now, first thing you're going to realize, of course, is I never went to art school and I'm not good at all. So that's why I like handouts. But handouts are on Blackboard right now. Okay. The neuron looks sort of like this. Sort of like this. Kind of a body area here. It comes down a long extension for the most part. And then it breaks off into little endings there. And then neuron number 1 hooks up in this area. So we just copy this, put it here, and that's how the message gets sent. So these structures are called dendrites. And the message, by the way, is going in that direction. So the dendrites, this is the cell body, this mass here. You have nursing students in here? Medical students as well? Okay. For you, this is called the soma. So those who work in the medical field use a more sophisticated term than cell body, and that word is soma. Okay, so we have the dendrites, the soma. The cell nucleus is in here. This is the axon. This is the terminal branch. Now, we have two types of communication through cells in our nervous system. The most common one is, I don't know if I can say that. Probably the most common one is what we're showing here, a combination of electric and chemical communication. I'll explain that. Some nerves don't have the chemical side of it. This one has the electric and the chemical, and this is one we always talk about because it's more common and it's more sophisticated, okay? And you'll see that in a minute. So, these dendrites reach out and can touch a lot of other neurons, okay? And the beauty of this design by your creator is that it leads to an unlimited number of possibilities. I mean, you have trillions of these things. So it's very, very versatile. Because think about it, your nerves do a lot of things. They send you a message from your bladder saying, hey, it's time to pee, or they can tell you that that fan is blowing back here because you can hear it and you can probably feel it. All of your five senses are all, the only way you get information into your brain is through your five senses, right? We all know what the five senses are. 5 fingers of death. No. The 5 senses. No. Smell, sight, hearing, touch, and taste, right? Okay. That's the only way we get stuff in the brain. It's the only avenue. So, dendrites reach out, and I'll show you how that process works for the transmission from another terminal branch, another cell over here, another neuron over here. So the electric charge comes into cell body, moves down here to this little area here. It's called the hillock. We don't. It's too specific. That's too much information for most of you. Axon hillock. And if the strength of the electric charge is enough, then the electric charge will shoot down the axon. For all of those in the medical field, this is called a sodium potassium pump. You have an equilibrium of positive and negative ions in this axon on the outside, and when it triggers a impulse, it shoots down the axon. There's an exchange between ions. Much too difficult for us to talk about in psychology, but something you might be a little bit interested in. Okay, got electric message. It comes down here until it reaches the terminal branch. Now I'll go right here. It's kind of like little buds on the end. We'll exaggerate it greatly so you can hopefully see. I'm about dead on for the camera. So this is the axon. The electric charge is coming down here. In this terminal bud, which is at the very end of the terminal branch, it breaks out like this. In there are vesicles. You've heard that word before. It's like a storage locker. And in the storage locker, in our example, you have neurotransmitters. Anybody know, anybody give me the name of one or more neurotransmitters? Epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, bunch of them, right? So let's say this is a serotonin. So you got a bunch of serotonin molecules in here. So the electric message comes down here, goes into the end of the terminal branch, which is this. And through the beauty of your creation, it hits the vesicle that it needs to hit in order to pass on this communication. So in this case, we're going to send serotonin across to the next branch over here with the dendrite, with another dendrite, another dendrite, and mesoma, and then axon. This is what we're talking about. Now, these two things, the terminal branch and the dendrite of another neuron, are really, really close. They don't touch, but they're really, really close. So we'll just open it up for argument's sake so that you can pretend these are dendrites from another cell. This creature here is called the synaptic gap, or synaptic, if you're a medical professional, cleft. Anybody ever heard that word before, cleft? How about cleft palate? Anybody know what a cleft palate is? Anybody know what a palate is? All right. Palate. Yeah, you got it. That's palates. And a cleft palate, as in a gap, means that when you were growing through your growth and development in your early stages of transforming from a fertilized egg into a full-size human, you may remember, you may not, looking at these photos of embryos, stages of embryos. And in one of the early stages, your eyes are noticeable and you look like a flounder. Your eyes are on the side of your head like this. You look like a flounder, or one of those creatures from Star Wars or something. And as you grow, your tissue grows together. Okay? And you can see this little part on your upper lip. That's evidence that that's where your face actually came together. And a cleft palate is when it didn't take all the way. And so you will see pictures, usually of kids, and they've got big gaps. And it can be corrected surgically. This is one of the things my daughter does. It's corrective surgery for cleft palates. And then after that's done, because it's also inside, it's just not your physical outside lip, it's also your palate. People have to go through speech therapy. Because if they don't, they have a very distinctive way of speaking. And because their palate was not correctly formed. And good thing about masks, nobody can see, but invariably you'll be talking to somebody and you will see they have a huge scar, like right here or right here. That's from a cleft palate. And if you've got sensitive ears, you can hear a little distortion in the way they speak. It's very hard to get rid of it entirely. So, this is the synaptic cleft. And this is what happens. You get the electric message, boom, goes to the vesicle that has serotonin. It moves towards the edge here, and it pops out a serotonin neurotransmitter. So you have gone from electric to chemical. Now, on the receiving side, they have receptors on the dendrites. Those receptors are specific to the neurotransmitter. So this one is a neural receptor for serotonin. However, this one is for dopamine. This one's for norepinephrine. So the neurotransmitter passes through the synaptic cleft, and as I said, they're very, 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 very close. It comes over here and starts looking for home, and boom, it finds it. If it goes to the wrong place, this guy won't accept it. It's like knocking on a door, you know? Who is it? Bob. I don't know any Bob. Get out of here. That's the way it goes. Once you hook up, not with Bob, but you hook up over here with your neural receptor, then it turns into an electric charge again, and goes through the process, and that completes it. When this serotonin is done, she floats around on the outside, it comes back, and truly goes home, back into the vesicle moves back, and the cycle is repeated. So, what neurotransmitter is associated with depression? Serotonin. So if you are low in serotonin, you are depressed. We have talked about the biopsychosocial. I told you we're going to talk about this a lot. Psych, bio, social, dynamic arrows showing the dynamic diagram. Things move around your care. Now let's learn a few more things about neuron before I talk about depression. There are fatty, what's the word for fatty in medical terms? Okay, we call it a fat cell. What would you call it if you were knowledgeable about terms in medicine? Not yet? We're not there yet? All right, gentlemen, you need to know this word. Honey, do I look okay in these outfits? And you say, yeah, the adipose looks fine. Adipose is fat, all right? So if you say, oh, your fat looks okay, slap, right? So you got to use a word like adipose. You know, what's that mean? Oh, it's complimentary, trust me. Okay. So these little parts of most, I don't want to say most, many axons are called myelin. I hope I spell this right. I'm not good at spelling. Myelin sheath. The myelin sheath does two things. It protects the axon because it is literally is a band of fatty cells. But it also does this. This electric charge comes through here when it's unmyelinated. It just sort of passes down through here. When it's myelinated, the electric charge jumps. Boom, 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 boom. Much quicker. So, if you have, I didn't bring my knife today. So always gets people excited when I pull out a knife in class. Let's say it's Friday night and you're doing what you sometimes do. You go and find the woods, it has a lot of trees, and you get completely naked and you walk around the woods because it's cool. It's really cool. And you're walking, and all of a sudden you feel something pushing against your face. Probably a tree branch, but you can't see it, but that's what it feels like. Okay? That message from the touch of your skin, which is one of your five senses, right? Sends a message to your brain and says what? Stop! Because if you don't stop, that branch can go right into your eye and you're messed up. So, that message system, by the way, nerves, sensory nerves, are they equally distributed in your body? I cut my hair so I don't have any cut. I can't. I used to pull my hair out. I'll pull yours out. All right. Do me a favor. Run your hands through your hair like that and see if the hair comes out. Don't pull it, but just like that. Please. I'm serious. Not my hair, your hair. I can't get mine. It's not long enough. Yeah. Did you get one? No, your hair's too healthy. Anyway, here, okay. We'll simulate simulation purposes. We got the perfect sleeve on, so it would be you. When I used to have hair, where I cut it all off, I'd pull out of hair, okay? You can see it, not really, whatever. And I would take it and I would say, okay, look over here. Look over here. And then I would go like that. And I'd say, do you feel that? She would say no. So then I go here. Is that what it takes? Not now. All right. So I would stroke there. Can't feel it. And as I go down her arm, maybe around here somewhere, she can feel it. So since what she is feeling is a very fine, delicate touch, why can she feel it down here but not up here? Say it again. Absolutely. You have more nerves around your hand. Why? What do you do with your hands? Let's say you didn't have hands. Okay? All right, now I'll ask the question again. What do you do with your hands? Billions of things, right? That are essential, right? So your body has already built in to the system why you need a bunch of nerve endings in your hands and not so much on your shoulder, right? So if I pulled that same hair out and run it against your nalgitas, you're not going to feel it. Why? Because it's not that sensitive. Okay? Now I take that same hair and take it around the front part of your body, stroke that sexual reproductive side of your body. You going to feel it? Absolutely. Why? Because your sexual reproductive organs are extremely important for survival. So it's baked into the equation. Your face has so many nerve endings you can't believe it. Because your face is important. What happens if you damage your eye? You can't see. What happens if you damage both your eyes? You're completely blind. You puncture your nose. You may not be able to smell correctly. You puncture your ear. What? didn't get my ear punctured, but 26 years in the Army as an explosives guy, I don't hear a damn. You already know that. Now I told you, now you know why. So, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, I mean, you have taste in your mouth, you can sort of maybe taste through your nose, I never thought about it, but anyway, you have important aspects of your five senses assembled around your face. So your face is got a lot of nerves. Your sexual organs have a lot of nerves because people want to fight each other in the middle of the night with no lights, right? And then, unlike most animals, we know that you can have sex and it can be a pleasurable event, and it's not just for procreating, creating children. A lot of animals, they don't participate in that activity unless it's the time of year or time of month where they're coming into estrus and it's time to have sex. We know that because when the mare becomes in heat, estrus, the stallions, the studs go crazy. I mean, crazy. They'll jump fences, they'll knock down doors, they'll kill you if you get in their way. They want that mare. And it's a very dangerous time. In fact, nowadays, we don't even let them have sex because they can kill each other. I have a video of a female in heat. He says the time for her that she's reproductively available, and the male horse gets so excited, and they're trying to fight him. He jumps over the fence and runs towards her, and she's just standing there, and he's galloping over her. She takes her right rear foot, bam, hits him in the head, kills him. It's an unbelievable video. But, all right, let's get back to Snappy Cat. Serotonin passes over here and he comes back. Guess what, medical people and everybody else? This synaptic gap is where all your meds, which we will call RX as a prescription, all your medication that has to do with mental issues, it all takes place in the synaptic gap. Now, there are other medicines that you take that can affect things in the synaptic gap. They're not meant to do that. Anybody familiar with the painkiller progesterone? Somewhere around 17 or 18% of the people who take progesterone, which is for pain. A lot of people, certain pain medicines don't work. This one is steroid based, I think, and 17 to 18% of people who take it start having psychotic symptoms after taking it. So as I was teaching this class last night, one of my students, who's a future nurse, said, that's why they don't give it to you for very long, because it, of course, builds up and then you can have more problems. And my response to that was, when grandma goes to the hospital because she broke her hip, she's waiting for her hip surgery, she's in a lot of pain, so they give her progesterone, and then she starts thinking she's the Queen of England and she's acting psychotic. What do? Take her off progesterone? No. They give her another drug, antipsychotic, temporarily while she's waiting to get her. It's unbelievable. So, my point is, other drugs can affect what goes on here. So what goes on here is all about your mental state of affairs. So if you like doing magic mushrooms and uh, math or anything, all these things affect this. Um, Now, see if I have more food. No, I'll put it up. I'll put it up here. Everybody in this room has been depressed. Everybody in this room is going to be depressed again. Especially if you listen to the rest of me. Sounds depressing, doesn't it? It's not what we call clinical depression. Clinical depression is not the kind of depression that I'm talking about. The kind of depression that I'm talking about is you wanted this to happen, it didn't happen. Somebody broke up with you, and now you're sad, and a relative of yours died, you're sad about it. Your cat runs away. Mine's done it twice. Came back. You can be sad. You can be depressed, but not clinically depressed. Clinically depressed is a different issue. So as you go through life, and we're graphing your happiness, this is being like neutral, and then you go up, and then you go back to neutral, and you maybe go down a little bit, then you go up, and then maybe go up again. That's your normal ebb and flow of your life. Sadness, a little bit depressed. Look at your paycheck, a little bit depressed. Then the big event occurs. Right here. The big event. Something in your social life. Unfortunately for you, your grandfather or your grandmother, who you're close to, has just died either through old age or COVID, and now you really are depressed. So you go down maybe deeper than you ever have before, because if you were close to somebody, that event could really have a huge impact on your life. Most people, you get over that initial trauma. That's why we have ceremonies, and that's why we, as families, we kind of draw together. And eventually, you will sort of work your way back up, and you'll be back to where you used to be. You will not forget your grandmother, and there will be times, special times that you used to have with her, Sundays, or she used to, make your favorite meal, and you're not having that done anymore. You're going to get that memory, and then you're going to get a little depressed again. But other times, you don't come out of it. You go down, 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 and then you hit rock bottom. Okay. So, as you're going downhill, literally, some of your friends who you used to go out with, maybe run through the woods naked with, I'm not sure, but you used to do things with your friends. They come over Friday night, you're sad, and they say, hey, come on, let's go shoot some pool, or, go have a few brews somewhere. And you say, no, I'm not into it, man. I'm just not feeling it. So they say, come on, man. And so they argue with you a little bit, and you say, no. So you stay home. So they go, and you become more depressed. And then another week comes by, and you're even more depressed. They come by your house, and they ask you, and you don't go with them. And then the third time they come, and you don't go with them. And then that's it. They stop coming. Because nobody likes to be around somebody who's depressed. So they try to get you out of bed. They try to get you to do something. You won't do it because you're too depressed. So you become more depressed, and here you go at the bottom. Now, at the bottom, you are not going to get better by yourself. You know, people look at, oh, you went to therapy, you must be messed up. Oh, you broke your finger and you went to the doctor? Oh, you're messed up. Man, that's weird. I'm going to stay away from you. People look at mental health issues as, oh my God, you're crazy. You know, Jason. Now, in this case, it's biologically based now. Up here, it's here. And I told you, this is interactive. So when you start getting more depressed, Mr. and Mrs. Serotonin go down in numbers. Normally, if you're missing, hey, boss, we're supposed to have 100 serotonins in here. We only got 98. All right, send a message to big cell here. Hey, send me some serotonin. Okay, they send 2 more. They come down here. All right, I'm at 100%. Good to go. That doesn't happen when you're depressed. Not early on, but somewhere along the line, you are now suffering from a lack of serotonin. So we have, anybody know any antidepressant drugs? Well, many of the new ones are called SSRIs. Anybody knows what that stands for, right? Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. What? Okay, didn't I tell you that when the serotonin was done, shooting its electric charge this way, and now it flows over the synaptic cleft, and comes back here, it is reuptaken to go back into the vesicle so I can be at 100%. So whatever's going on here, and it's probably more complicated than that, because under normal circumstances, our body has a process. Somebody better know the answer to this one. Homeostasis. Homeostasis. Anybody knows what that is? Homeostatic? Well, what?
Your body has.
I knew you knew that answer. You hesitated to tell me, but you didn't know it. Homeostasis is equilibrium. Our body always wants to be equilibrium. Damn, it's hot outside. Okay, well, take your shirt off. It's cold outside. Put a jacket on. Our body likes to be whatever normal temperature we are at. And if we're not there, the body does something to try. If you're out outside for a while, you're going to start sweating. Why? That's a process to try to cool you down. Because your body's trying to stay at a homeostatic level. Anybody hungry? Anybody skip breakfast like me? Okay. Why are you hungry? Because your stomach tells you, hey, dude, you didn't eat. Yeah, but I have to get over here and see if this damn camera works. So I didn't have a chance to eat. So that's how it works. Homeostasis. And when you're out of homeostasis, then you're sick, and then something has to be done. So under normal circumstances, if you're at 98 and you need to be at 100, you send a message up to here, and then they send you 2, and you go back to 100. Something happens during depression where that doesn't work. Now, this drug, this is how much we understand medicine. This drug, SSRI, antidepressant, it comes in your bloodstream and floats around here, and when it finds this serotonin molecule, it globs onto it and surrounds it. and it won't let it be reuptaken, because just like the receptor over here, the reuptake is specific for that neurotransmitter. So you go up, hey, I'm back, open the door. No, I don't know who the hell you are, get out of here. And that's what happens. So you are now at 99. And of course, the message gets sent back here, hey, I'm at 99, I need another one. And that process, which you have to ask yourself the question, why do you need a drug to do that? Why doesn't it do it normally under homeostatic principles? We don't know, but it doesn't work that way. So, the SSRI globs onto here, and this dude just bounces around the synaptic gap because nobody's going to take it. Nobody's going to open the door for him. So you've lost him, and you've lost him forever. So this drug does not give you more serotonin. Like if you were low in your thyroid. Now, I understand the thyroid is not a neurotransmitter, it's hormone. So you're low in thyroxine, then you can take a shot or a pill, and it actually injects that missing component because your thyroid is not producing that. That's not what this does. It does what I just explained. Why does it work? We cannot tell you. Nobody knows. And it doesn't work for everybody. There are other chemical approaches other than SSRIs for depression. Most people respond very well. We haven't, by the way, speaking of depressing, I told you it's going to get worse. We have a big fat manual called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. It should be on your blackboard. I don't know if I stuck it up there or not. I got so paranoid because of the size problem. But there should be a DSM-5 on your blackboard. If not, I'll see if I can upload it without blowing that up. That's a diagnostic manual for all mental illnesses. It explains them to some degree, and it basically describes the symptomology. And there's nothing in the DSM that tells you how you got any disease, how you became depressed. Now, I know you got depressed because of your grandmother's death. They don't know that. It doesn't even say. There's a possibility that you had a traumatic event, and this traumatic event, led to depression. No, they don't say that. They just say, if you're depressed, these are your symptoms. And of course, they get worse. So you end up taking the SSRI, and for all of you who are either a future patient or you are a medical professional, please do the professional thing. Do not treat any mental illness with just a drug. That's doing a disservice to your patient. Give somebody, not everybody needs an antidepressant drug. They can get out of it with some help from a therapist. But if they're down here, they're going to need some medical intervention. But not by itself. You need some therapy too. So you get your SSRI, you get your therapy, and you crawl yourself back up into normality. Okay, so while we're on the depressive subject, some people who are depressed kill themselves, correct? So, where do you think on this spectrum here, where do you think people kill themselves? Did they kill themselves when they're going downhill and they're getting worse and worse? Or did they kill themselves when they're at rock bottom? Or did they kill themselves after they start getting better and going up towards regular health? What do you think? Getting better. What did you say? You said it. is, lives or what did you say?
I'm really thinking about it.
And you guys are smart. I can't teach you anything. I'm done. I quit. All right, smarty pants. Tell me why it is. You're right. You're right. I'm scared. Why is that true?
When you're getting better, you can tell more about it.
Man, I'm telling you, you guys are on it. This is what happens. You're going downhill and you're getting depressed and you're like, somewhere maybe around here you start thinking, this crap sucks and I'm moving myself in. And then you get rock bottom and then you definitely think, I'm done. I'm gonna kill myself. Why don't you? You're too damn depressed to kill yourself. Sounds terrible, right? Well, I'm gonna kill myself, but maybe tomorrow. So you don't. Your point is exactly on target. As you get better, you're no longer laying in bed like a sloth. You're up and doing things. Still got depressive thoughts, but you're getting better. So you're moving towards normality, and then something happens to set you back. Like if it was a girlfriend you lost, boyfriend you lost, and then you went by the place where you guys used to always go, and then you say to yourself, oh, hell no, I'm not going back down there. I've been there. I know what it's like to be a rock bottom, and I'm not going to do it. And now that I'm up and moving, I have the energy to complete the task. So if you have somebody who is depressed and they've sought treatment and they're doing better, this is where you really need to spend time with them and watch them. Because if there's a setback, this is where they're most likely to take their own life. Because now they have the energy. They know what this looks like, and they don't want to go back to it. And so one of the tragedies of working with not so much children, because children generally don't know themselves, but adolescents do. And one of the really sad things about that is because they haven't lived long, they don't understand the cycle that I just described of up and down and normal and all that. You tell somebody who's really depressed, look, man, you'll get over it. You'll find another girl, say even better than Carolina. You say to yourself, that's BS. That's the love of my life. I'll never love anybody like I love Ed. We've all told ourselves, right? So if you're a therapist, you're sitting in the chair, talking to your client, and you say, this is cognitive behavioral analysis, right? So you were in love with Carolina, yes. Best love I ever had, yes. Never met anybody like her, no. Was this the first girlfriend you've ever had? No. Have you been in love with other girls? Yeah. Did you love them dearly and were thinking about marrying them? Yeah. But you didn't. And now you're with Carolina, and now you're not. So what would make you think that it's over? How many girlfriends have you had? Oh, about 6. Serious girlfriends, about 6. And so Carolina's 7. Why not 8? That's a cognitive approach. But when you're really, really sad, it's like, oh, it'll never happen. You're convinced it's not going to happen. So you have to work on a cognitive basis of trying to explain why your thinking is irrational. And by the way, the psychological side is the one that drives you down here. It's your psychological explanation that drives you in there. I used to be a child abuse and black death cases investigator for the state of Illinois. And I used to take guys who I had very good reason to believe that they had, let's say, sexually molested their child. So they're not going to admit to it, right? Because they're going to go to jail. So I don't know. Maybe it was Uncle Larry. Maybe it was not me. So I'd ask him, hey, well, your little daughter's telling us that you're the guy that did it. So I'm sure she's confused. You say you didn't do it. It's probably some man and she's confused. I'm lying to her, of course. I'm sure she's confusing this other man with you. Has she ever been alone with another? Oh yeah, Uncle Larry sometimes babysits, and then there's on occasion Bob the neighbor has babysat for us. But I don't know that they. I'm not saying they did it. Okay. So you say, well, do you mind taking a polygraph? Some do, some don't. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're the father and you did not harm your child, you can't give that dad a polygraph very close to when the incident may have occurred. Because this is the way true fathers think and the way true mothers think. If some harm comes to your child, like they've been kidnapped and they're gone, you know where they are, you cannot set that parent down and give them a polygraph. Why? Because they will say in their mind, no, I didn't kidnap my own damn kid and murder him. But it's my fault anyway. What do you mean? You were at work, the kid was, it doesn't matter. If you're a parent, you're going to blame yourself for your child being taken. And when you do that psychologically, it will affect the polygraph. So you can't do that. Now, this guy, well, first of all, I was already convinced that he had done it because I had other evidence. But you take them to the polygraph, and of course they fail it. So, the mental portion, the psychological portion that drives you into depression, and that's what it does. Because your grandmother died and you're close to her, all of a sudden your serotonin don't just shut down and leave your body. It's a thinking process. The medical word, when you think about something again and again, is rumination, right? Rumination. When you ruminate, that means you think about it again and again and again. That's not healthy. That's why people become depressed. If you're, let's say, you have a strong religious belief, your grandmother dies, you are sad, correct? Yes. If you have a religion that you can lean on, you say to yourself, she's off to a better place. She's with God. Everybody dies. It's inevitable. Certainly I miss her. Certainly I'm sad. Certainly I'll miss her the rest of my life. But I'm not going here because I have support system. I have my faith. I have my family. I have my friends. And I'm going to work it out. That's what most of us do. But other times it's so overwhelming to us because of all of this stuff going on, family stuff going on, and maybe a little bit of this. By the way, if you know a friend who's depressed, a lot of us got sort of depressed during this COVID crap. Really, just me and the cat, right? Both. Very depressing. Very depressing. I didn't get to look at all of you guys. And that does make you sad. So, if you know somebody who's sad, staying at home, not doing much, maybe you and another friend go over to their house and say, all right, Jose, get up, we're gonna go for a walk. I don't wanna go for a walk. I don't care. I'm big enough, and my buddy here is big enough, we're gonna pick you up, since you're clothed, and you got your shoes on, I'll put your shoes on, we'll go for a walk. Just a little bit of exercise can stop this downward spiral. If you're a person who's a runner, can't really tell, but I used to be a runner until I blew my knee up. If you're a runner or a weightlifter, do yoga all the time, it's an important part of your life, and you continue to do it even though you're sick. It's very hard for you to get down here to the deep bowels of black depression. Because if you're exercising, you're producing hormones, neurotransmitters. It's hard for you to get down here. Because that physical activity is a homeostatic influence on your depression. So if you're depressed and you're doing all this exercise, you're running, it's working to get you back up to normal level. So granted, you don't carry antidepressant meds on you, but you can really help somebody by just doing a simple walk around the neighborhood. Okay. Have you guys looked at these questions yet? I can't remember. I bet there's something about axon potentials. Okay, I'm looking at mod 3, talking about dendrites. And by the way, the word endorphins is a neurotransmitter that is produced through exercise. That's the thing that makes you feel better when you're actually doing exercise. You're lifting weights or something, you're getting all pumped up and all your muscles are all filled with blood. There's a time where you get this little kind of euphoria. It's like, yeah. If you're a runner, they call it the wall, especially long distance runners. You're running, your body's getting tired and what? And all of a sudden you hit the wall. And the wall's when the endorphins are pumping, and it's like, yeah, I like this. And then you can finish your marathon, which is a long race, because of the same principle. Okay, neurons are, question 15. Neurons are surrounded by glia cells. So on the outside of these neurons, all the way around it, are glia cells. Glia cells support neurons. They support them by feeding them. They support them by taking away garbage. And they can also communicate with them. Do you have 15 on mod 3?
Mod 3?
Yeah, it is mod 3, right? Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
You have one? Get one. If you don't have one, get one so you can follow. You don't have to write it all down. You just circle the right answer. We're on mod 3, question 15. Neurons are surrounded by glia cells which guide neural connections, mop up ions, and neurotransmitters. So they feed and take out the garbage. (16) One function of glia cells is to do what? Provide nutrients. There's a lot of glia. 17 is glia cells too, right? Okay, number 18 is on action potential. So I knew it was in here somewhere. So let's talk about that. So when you go to the axon hillock, that little funnel there out of the soma that's going down the axon or the beginning of the axon, if the strength of the message that was passed through the dendrites into the soma and maybe down the axon, maybe not, that decision-making process is done by an action potential. And again, there are graphs posted on Blackboard about this. You are in homeostasis. Right here. Then something happens. You get a message from your skin that poking thing in the middle of the night out in the woods, danger, Will Robinson. So if the message comes in, if it's strong enough, it'll go up to here, and then there's a threshold. You know what a threshold is, right? The threshold is the very edge of when something's going to happen. So if you're trying to balance, or you're trying to stack something up, or you're trying to balance, you can do it for a little while, but eventually you put one more piece of wood on it or one more box, and then the whole thing falls over. Because you pass the threshold. If you have a lot of hearing problems like I do, if you've been to a hearing specialist, they'll put the little headphones on, and then they'll pipe a tone into your ear. It'll start out so low that you can't hear it. It's below your threshold. They do it on purpose. They'll send you a message here. Can't hear it. 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 Ah, now I can hear it. And they can tell whether you're hearing impaired because most people can hear it right here. If you're me, you can't hear it. No, that's not true. It's got to be over your threshold. So I guess for me, either my threshold is really high or I can't hear it. So they can determine what the lowest level of this tone that they sent you that you can hear. They compare that to normal hearing and then tell you you have a hearing problem. So in the action potential, this is what happens. You get a message, nothing happens. You get another message, doesn't happen. You get another message, doesn't happen. You get a message up here, you're above the threshold, and then little light switch over here. Message, nothing, message, nothing. Oh, now I'm over the threshold, boom. Okay? Or you can do it the other way. No message, no, finally over the threshold, it's on. So, what happens? It goes up, it comes down, it actually passes below normality, and then it goes up, back up to normal. That's the action potential. And it's all determined by how much electrical juice you're getting. And at that accent hillock, you can hold on to a little bit of electrical messages until you get enough to bust through the threshold. And then it shoots. Okay, demonstration. Let me see your hand, please. Okay, I'm going to shake your hand. Okay, how do you know I'm shaking your hand? You can feel it, right? There's one. There's two. What's the difference between 1 and 2? 2 is stronger, more forceful. So, you got that message through your neural pathways, correct? Your sensors on your hands felt that, sent a message. So, that was message 1. Message 1 was a normal handshake. Message 2 was getting closer to being painful. So, from a neuron point of view, an action potential, how would we depict the difference between message 1 and message 2? It is not that this action potential goes higher or is more forceful. No, it's like that light switch. Your action potential is either on or it's off. And if it's on, it cannot be more on. Strong. A moron, that's good. I like that. Moron. It can't be a moron. It can't be changed. If it's on, it shoots, and then it comes back down, and then it goes back. Now, if you're in a lot of pain, this is what neuron number 1 does. If you're in a lot of pain, it goes up, goes down, and it's instant that it's here, it's going up again. And it will continue that way until you're better. You sprain your ankle, put some tape on it, it hurts. Why? Because these neurons continue to fire. Fire, 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 fire. You're in pain, 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 pain. By the way, what is the historical, neurological, philosophical purpose of pain? What does pain, from a looking at your body, looking at it holistically, what does pain do for us? Let's say you sprain your ankle. It hurts, right? Are you playing basketball? Are you going to get up and start playing basketball again? No. Why? Because it hurts. So what's the benefit of hurt? What's the benefit of pain? You don't make matters worse. Doctor, it hurts when I do that. Well, don't do that. Don't work that way. The purpose of pain is to tell you, hey, dummy, you just got poked or about to be poked in the eye with a stick at night running around the woods naked. So, stop. Pain, stop. And if there's a lot of pain, you're going to stop fast. This is one of those old wood stoves. Stop! You're going to get out of there quickly because those neurons are firing fast. Now, since we can't change action potential message number 1, how do I tell the difference between handshake 1 and handshake 2 since I can't change my action potential? What can I change? Or what does my body change for me? So if I do this, neurons are firing, saying I'm getting pat on the back. If I do that, I get the same messages, but I get more of them. So the difference between a handshake, you want me to do that again? No, you got it? The message in number 2 is not higher peaks on the action potential, but more of them. More of them. And you will know when you do take a pain medication, a lot of times it will not remove the pain 100%. It just makes it more tolerable because it's cutting off message 2 through 2 million, but it's not getting them off. But you're a lot better off. Better to deal with 1,000 neuron messages than 10 billion of them. So that's how action potential works. Number 18, a brief electrical charge that travels down the axon of a neuron is called the action potential. Number 20, an action potential is generated by the movement of ions through an axon membrane. I told you it was a sodium potassium pump, both positive ions. I can't remember which one to, but on the axon, I want to say the sodiums, I shouldn't say that, no. One of them is on the inside and one of them is on the outside. And when the action potential occurs, the membrane of the axon becomes permeable. Whichever one of these positive ions comes in, pops in, changes the electrical charge, because now you've got more positive than you used to. Maybe kick out something to go to homeostasis. But it sends the electric message. These ions, you remember, ions are just positive or negative substances like sodium and potassium, or one you mostly know about is like HCl, H2O, you break that into HO, HO negative and H positive. This is water, these are ions. HO, hydrogen, oxygen, you're missing a component. Hydrogen is a positive. You put those together and you have a homeostatic molecule called water. Since most of you are not medical interested people, we are not going to put anything about all this technical, somewhat technical, biological chemistry portions of how ions, how the ion pump works. That's over your head for most of you. You're a nursing student, medical student, you're going to get it in much more detail than we're discussing, so don't worry about it. I put it on here just because I know I have medical people in here. It'd be nice to know that you saw it. I'll ask you, number 35. Let's answer the 35. D, more neurons to fire and fire more often. So 35 is D. Slap on the back is more painful than a pat on the back or a handshake. It's squeezing you because more neurons are firing, and they fire more often, as quickly as possible if you're in a lot of pain. Number 40, neurotransmitters are released from knob-like terminals at the end of the what? Erase that picture. You can't talk about it. That's the end of the axon in the terminal branch, which of course is the end of the axon. So 40 is A. Reuptake, you should be able to answer that since I drew that picture for you.
Sorry, what did you say was 40?
Can't see. Hold it up. Neurotransmitters are released from knob-like terminals at the end of the C, the axon. Well, it would have been better if they said terminal branch. But it is, the terminal branch is the end of the axon, so it's not incorrect, it's just less specific. Reuptake, you know, you'll have to read these other ones, which one's involved in learning and memory. I already told you about depression, which is where. And 47, an undersupply of serotonin is most likely linked to D, depression. Endorphins, those wonderful neurotransmitters that make you feel better when you do certain things, exercise, whatever. So 50 is A. 46, what is schizophrenia? Which neurotransmitter is that associated with? 46. Dopamine. Schizophrenia, of course, is a psychotic mental illness and not a neurotic, more serious type of mental illness than depression. Depression is not a psychotic mental illness. It is a neurotic mental illness. Psychotic, more serious, but it's associated with dopamine. Now officially, wow, we didn't get very far, did we? Mod 4 has to do with anatomy type things. Oh, that brings me questions off of Mod 4. Mod 6. DNA type questions. And a lot of discussion about nature, nurture, those kinds of things. All right, I think our math class that meets after us is not really meeting. Because last time I stayed in here, nobody showed up, so I don't think that class made it or something. So we're not in a rush to get out of here, but some of you may be in a rush because you're going to go somewhere else. So we kind of got screwed up, the whole school did, because we were ordered not to have class on the first Tuesday, so we're kind of a little bit behind on our presentations. So, we can do, we can remedy that if you're interested in doing it. We can, meet online, after you've had time to digest this, all these questions on the study guide. And then, you can feel better prepared to take the exam. So the question is, how much time do you need between now and when I release the test, which will be determined by when you're ready? If you think you're ready. Normally, if it would have been screwed up, and we didn't have camera problems and all this other stuff, I would be releasing the test tomorrow, and you would have the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do it, and the test has to be turned in by Sunday. But I'm not gonna do that because we got off the schedule here. So my question to you is, when would it be productive for you to meet online, if you want, to continue with our discussion about test questions off the study guide? As you know, anytime I answer questions, I usually bloviate on other issues that would have been tied into the lecture if we would have had time to spend more time lecturing. So, obviously, that would be a voluntary thing. I mean, even coming to class is voluntary, so. If we can conduct it at a time that people, or most people, could try to get the benefit out of it, it will be recorded, so it's not like you can't listen to it when you get off of work or whatever. So, but it's not gonna be helpful to you, as helpful to you, unless you've looked at all, if you've done all the reading and you've looked at all the study guide questions. Because only by doing that will you know what you're confused about. And when the test comes around, you don't get to ask questions. It's too late then. So I am certainly willing to schedule an online session just for the purpose of going through the study guide questions. So is anybody interested in doing that? See, we meet at 10 o'clock. That does not mean that, well, okay, let's put it differently. When do you think you'll be ready to have it? Would you be ready for it on Friday, or would you rather have it on Saturday, Sunday, Monday? I guess, this next Tuesday, we're starting another 2 weeks of block of instruction. So, it needs to be done sometime between now and Monday night, I guess. You want the maximum time to work the problems out? So you want to do it on Monday, then? If we do it on Monday, I'll release the test on Tuesday, and you'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to take the exam. But on Tuesday, we are going to start talking about the next month, because I don't want to get behind. I'm already sort of behind. So, you're always available to send me a text or email if you're working in the evening or something, having trouble answering the question. To do that, what time do you think would be good to schedule it on Monday? The only thing I have on Monday is I have a class, an online class, from 1 to around 2:30 or something. That's the only time I'm not available on Monday. So, I don't know, just because you're available on 10 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday does not mean necessarily you're available on 10 o'clock on Monday. If you want to meet at 10 o'clock Monday, that's fine, or if you want to meet at another time on Monday, That's fine too. What do you think? There's not gonna be a time everybody agrees on it. Putting that up front. So if you really want the maximum time to study, it can meet Monday evening. So if you tell me, you wanna meet Monday day in the morning, or in the afternoon, or in the evening? Because you can always watch it taped, but if we get too late on Monday night, then people will be, because they can't make it for whatever reason live, but you won't have enough time to listen. So, did you have a suggestion? What time? Same time, 10? Well, those of you who might want to attend live, can you make it Monday at 10? Will that fit your schedule?
Yeah.
And if those of you who can't, you can watch it afterwards on Monday, and you'll still have it before Tuesday, which is beginning. If Tuesday's too busy for you, it's all right, I'll give you 3 days to take the test. All right? So, all right, I'll send out a Zoom message on Monday, and we'll continue this conversation and finish up all the questions. Doesn't do you any good to use the study guide if you're unclear about the answers, right? All right. Have a great weekend. See you again.
Tuesday opens up.
Maybe on Monday. Your stream will stop immediately, but you will no longer be live. That's right.